to the issuer of the attached certificate for remittance of payment. I gave him a copy of the birth certificate and sent it back to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Slightly different than the A for B stuff.
Oh yeah, it's a lot different than the A for B. You don't have to enforce it.
So what's the
Someone else
difference
do.
between the A for B?
I don't have to do anything. I just tell him the issuer of the certificate's already promised to take care of it. And how do you know he made promises to take care of it? Because the Federal Reserve note is the evidence of the beneficial use of whatever the hell was transferred at the birth.
You don't have to send it to the U.S. Treasury?
No. You send it to the issuer, the state. Everybody who has a U.S. birth, everybody who has a state-issued birth certificate has a promise to pay by that state that they're going to take care of all bills that come up in that state, or else they're operating in rebellion to the United States Constitution because they can't define anything other than gold and silver in tender of payment.
What if you got a DC birth certificate?
The same thing.
The DC birth certificate?
Yeah, probably the same thing. I would think any birth certificate does it because they're using that as the underwriting to get their loan. So as soon as they did that, you have a beneficial interest. So a birth certificate in any country on earth, I still hold true to this day, any country on earth that received an IMF loan or had something that's involved with them, all have the system put in place by which they attach the birth certificate to the citizenry. But in doing so, that state became the one who has to pay the debt of it because they're the usufruct of that living
I
creature.
can take the $64,000 balance of that mortgage with a copy of that birth certificate and just send it
Tell them to send it
Thank you
back.
very much, Mr.
Submit
Law.
this to the issuer of the certificate for remittance of payment. And then I wrote, you know, accepted for value without notice of adverse claim.
Simple as that?
Yeah. And then I wrote on the bill itself, I wrote accepted for value without notice of adverse claim. And then on the bottom of it, I wrote pay to the order of. Next where it says payment to, I put pay to the order of for book entry credit.
Okay.
And sent it back to them.
You could be as U.S. citizen do that, or as a man on
It
doesn't matter.
No. All right. The U.S. citizen is the name on the birth certificate. All right. That's what was created. That's the U.S. citizen. That's a civilly dead entity and a co-beneficiary and co-trustee to account for the public debt. You are the receipt holder of that entity or the property interest transferred into that trust. Therefore, you're the grantor of every account emanating from that trust. The Social Security account, you're technically the grantor, but the name is the grantor. You operate as if you're grantor. But you're also, as your grantor of every account, you're also the entitlement holder of all securities to give orders to these people to credit their book entry. Because book entry credit is considered money in Treasury world. It's a viable money form in their little bookkeeping entry system. So you send that to now as the Ceste K trust is that name. That's the U.S. citizen. It's a Ceste K trust. So therefore, it's also a decedent. You, not being the name, but a personal representative of the decedent, are the appropriate person to issue these orders. That's UCC 8-20 or 702 or 701 or something like that, where appropriate person is defined. And if you follow the link back, follow the lines all the way back, you see how you get your entitlement status, your entitlement holder. You don't come in as a living man. Living men have no business in that commercial world. If you come in as a living man, they're going to ignore you because Satan's world does not respect men. That's an image of God. Why would Satan give respect to an image of God when God doesn't give respect to an image of Satan? Remember, God does not respect persons.
What are you saying? Stay a U.S. citizen or don't become a man?
Huh? No, you're not a U.S. citizen. The name is the U.S. citizen.
Okay.
The name is like a car. Are you the car?
The corporation.
It's a vessel. It's a vessel. It's a vessel sitting there in the seas of commerce. It's USS name. My mind would be USS Boris Roger Erickson. Okay? I'm not that vessel. I just merely operate it. I don't operate it for myself either. I'm Christopher Columbus. I operate it on behalf of the Treasury. Therefore, the Treasury gets everything I do in that thing, and the Treasury is going to pay all the bills associated with it, as long as I don't claim personal ownership of it. Why? Because I am not here for earthly riches and wealth and gain. I am merely here for the benefit of everybody and everything else around me to make the world better present than the present I received when I got here.
You're saying as a collective.
Yes. And that's the purpose of it. That's what you were ordered to do under the Adamic covenant, which I call the Adamic covenant, the first part of Genesis. We were issued to subdue the earth in His name for His glory. Well, subdue means take over.
Yeah.
You know, whatever is here, we're supposed to take it over. I'm not shying away from it. That corporation called the United States Inc., that's going to be my best, my instrument of His hand to help me out, because it is everything already put in place by those who work for the deceiver. Because if you want something built, go get it built by the assholes who think they're going to inherit it. They're going to build it perfectly. They're going to build it perfectly, and then you just take it over out from underneath them by following the same rules they're operating under, but you're using a different master.
So in other words, you just need to enjoy what they do.
That's right.
You pass it.
Let them do whatever they're going to do, because they're serving God whether they know it or not. And if they don't accept it, they can rebel against it, and I don't care. That's their job, and that's their job. Satan still serves God. He doesn't tell everybody else. He doesn't tell all his followers that, oh, by the way, you're serving God. He doesn't tell them that. He's like, no, you can do whatever the hell you want, because this is what we're going to build here. This is what we're going to build here, and I'm doing my job. You just don't know what it is. You think we're in rebellion, and we're really not. The fallen angels were sent down here to guide man back to God. They took control of the man of nations, and they were there to purify them and lead them back. And it's just man and his man-made laws. You know, hey, you can make whatever law you want. I don't care. You know, you can follow the ones God gave you, or you can make up your own damn laws. Doesn't matter. Natural law is natural law. It's still going to be here when you're gone. You know, you jump off a roof, you hit the ground. That's natural law. I don't care what man-made law you put in between that. It's going to happen.
Yeah, easy to prove gravity.
Okay, let's get moving here.
Back to work.
We therefore decline to overrule the opinion of Chief Justice Marshall. We hold that the District of Columbia is not a state within Article 3 of the Constitution. In other words, cases between citizens of the district and those of the states were not included in the catalog of controversies over which the Congress could give jurisdiction to the federal courts by virtue of Article 3. In other words, Congress has exclusive legislative jurisdiction over citizens of Washington, District of Columbia, and through their plenary power, that's military dictatorship, nationally covers those citizens even when in one of the several states, as though the district expands for the purpose of regulating its citizens wherever they go throughout the states of the Union.
What I said a little while ago.
We've already talked about that, and this is just confirming it. This is National Mutual Insurance Company of the District of Columbia versus Tidewater Transfer Company, U.S. Supreme Court, 1948.
Well, isn't that the same premise under which the West was won by sending the people out there to take care of the land? Same
Sure.
with Canada, which was paying to have kids.
And it's
populate the land and then
Yep.
go through the population.
And
That was
it's-
part of the United States.
That's right.
Until it becomes a state, then it becomes part of the United States of America.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing that Lindsey Graham was talking about when they were talking with Kavanaugh, and they were saying that a U.S. citizen in Afghanistan is still subject to U.S. law.
You got it.
Question, a little bit related to that. 1860, any territory that became a state after that?
It's not a state.
It's not really a state. It's part of the
That's
illusion.
That's why, and you have all the lands out west are being, you know, the Bureau of Land Management can come in and manage all those states, because none of those states were states. All those states were corporate states.
Well, and
Well, 70–80% of all our land masses.
if you notice, like in the original states, like New York, for example, New Jersey, the law is different. The federal government is different in these states versus how it behaves in other states. And the reason is because they're not real states. They're territories. Is what they are. They just call them a state.
So in a territory, is there a common law General Assembly possibility?
Sure, of course there is. Of course there is, because all of that is in the matrix. It's in the corporation.
Now, I remember watching this guy describe how they actually admit states into the Union. And what they do is when the state gets ready to enter the Union, they basically lift everything off the state, throw the Union down underneath it, and then put everything back on top. And I don't know how that whole process works. But that's how it was described. I was like, that's pretty good. They lift up the carpet, slip something underneath it, and put the carpet back down. And now you have a shield between the land and the corporation, and that's where the United States of America is. That's all the land held in trust, all the people's interest held in trust, and then above it you have the administration of it, where everybody walks and treads.
See, and the Articles of Confederation, what happened is, like in 1845, when Texas joined the Union, if you read the preamble to that act, it says that the state of Texas, or it says Texas has joined the Confederacy. And so the point being is that some people think that when the Constitution was written, that it was treason, and because it overrode the Articles of that's not true. The Articles of Confederation are still in place. And Texas joined the Confederacy. That preamble to that act is proof of it. And so Texas is actually a little bit different than the other states, how they're treated, because Texas may not joined under the Constitution. It joined the Confederacy, and then but then also there's some more complicated things, because the Civil War and then the martial law that resulted. But it's interesting to note that I've heard that every year the governor of Texas has to sign approval for everybody in Texas that's in the U.S. military, has to sign approval for them to be there. Right. And so there's some interesting, and Texas has its own land commissioner. The Bureau of Land Management has no jurisdiction in Texas at all, and they have their own land commissioner. There's a lot of really interesting things about Texas, and working in aviation, I can tell you that the FAA is completely different in Texas than it is in any other state I've been in, and so there's a lot of differences, and it's all because of the Texas joined the Confederation and not the Union. Well, it's still a union, but see, if you read the Articles of Confederation, Texas could join, or any state can join the Confederation, but a certain number of states had to approve it. But it also said that Canada can join. It specifically says Canada can join anytime they want, but any other state has to have approval of a certain number of states to join.
Didn't Texas come in as a republic itself?
Well, it theoretically did. It was a Republic of Texas before it became the state of Texas.
That's what I'm saying.
But
it comprised different states as republics, didn't it?
But they pass an act that says that this is an act to extend the laws of the United States over the state of Texas. And so, what were you going to say?
So now, if that's the case with the Articles of Confederation, then any state in the world can join it.
Yeah, that's true.
With approval, though, right?
That's true. As long as we approve it. So therefore, every citizen, all the citizens of the states, all they have to do is start adopting the ways of here, then make their application, they can be admitted into the Confederacy, and then later join the Union.
Well, and theoretically that's possible,
because it's just a trust.
Well, and I saw, when I was in Delaware, remember I told some people I used to work at Pat's Aircraft Systems in Delaware.
It was in your Texas.
So anyways, there was an airplane that was there from Kuwait. It was a VIP airplane it was a 737 that had a VIP interior that was, owned by the Emir of Kuwait, and that was his transport, basically, Anyways, it had a seal on the tail that looked a lot like the state of Texas seal, except it said state of Kuwait.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder if Kuwait's not part of it. You see what I'm saying?
It very well could be. That's why they went into Kuwait when it got attacked by Iraq.
Exactly.
Because it had to defend U.S. interests.
Exactly.
It was Bush interest, but it was still U.S. interest at the time.
Yeah. So, Iraq could be part? Who knows?
Who knows how many states they would have?
They say that, like Japan, when and the Philippines, it's well documented that Philippines used to be part of the United States because there's court cases that talk about it. There used to be a U.S. district court for the District of China. There used to be. I'm thinking that
if that's the case, then what we read about the trust, the United States of America just being a trust, is anybody can join it. They just have to get, their nation just has to conform to the guidelines found within it, and then be granted admission.
Well, the admission has to be granted, That's entirely possible.
They could also be territories instead of.
They could
you know,
also, yeah,
states.
because IMF would technically be, the United States taking over everything, and everything's just a territory of the U.S. now.
Right. It's
Except-
entirely.
Except Syria and North Korea.
There were a lot of Filipinos in the military.
There is. I know. And the U.S.
And
military.
I don't think they have to be naturalized.
No, the reason that Filipinos join the military is to get the retirement and then go back to Philippines and live like millionaires.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't think they have to be naturalized.
And a
That's
lot
still-
of people
No.
that are foreigners join the military because they can get U.S. citizenship that way.
A lot of them from Mexico do that.
Yeah. Well, and there's people I knew that were from Holland,
Is that right?
Europe. Anyways, let's keep moving. The U.S. attorneys must recognize that the grand jury is an independent body whose functions include not only the investigation of crime and the initiation of criminal prosecution, but also the protection of the citizenry from unfounded criminal charges.
That's the Army manual?
That's the U.S. Attorney's Manual, section 9-11.010. The manual recognizes that targets of investigations have the right and can request or demand the opportunity to tell the grand jury their side of the story. Again, that's the U.S. Attorney's Manual about grand juries. The Supreme Court states that the independent grand jury's purpose is not only to investigate possible criminal conduct, but to act as a protector of citizens against arbitrary and oppressive governmental action, and to perform its functions, the independent grand jury deliberates in secret and may determine alone the course of its inquiry. And that's U.S. Supreme Court, 1974.
I wonder if they know that.
Of course they do. And you've seen the movies about the runaway jury, the runaway grand jury. You see what I'm saying? An independent grand jury is to stand between the prosecutor and the accused, and to determine whether a charge is legitimate or is dictated by malice or personal ill will. The grand jury is to protect citizens against hasty, malicious, and oppressive prosecution, and to ensure that prosecutions are not dictated by an intimidating power or by malice and personal ill will. Again, that's U.S. Supreme Court. The independent grand jury is described as a body with powers of investigation and inquisition, the scope of whose inquiries is not to be limited narrowly by questions of propriety or forecasts of the probable result of the investigation. These are all U.S. Supreme Court cases. Without thorough and effective investigation, the grand jury would be unable either to ferret out crimes deserving of prosecution or to screen out charges not warranting prosecution. My subscription channels, bit.me, shut down on the 15th of December, and YouTube channel called Sovereignty International is deleted. I made the exclusive content available on my website. I have 2 subscription levels, and I accept cryptocurrencies. The basic subscription donation level is $29.99 a year for the videos only. $49.99 a year is the platinum donation level for videos plus unlimited consultations. Now, my unlimited consultations have a limit. have a limit, I guess you might say, because I'm not a liar. Well, an attorney. Well, no, it's actually a liar. And but I can tell you what I would do under a certain circumstance and where to find the forms. People on other previous subscription plans will remain on that plan as long as they renew it. The unlimited consultations does not include phone calls, does not include babysitting, and does not include preparing documents or reviewing documents. So, getting 5 emails today, like I get emails from some people saying, should I notarize this or should I get witnesses to sign it? Well, that's a personal preference, and if you don't know what to do, then you need to do some more study. So I'm not going to hold people's hands, but I will tell you what I would do under a certain circumstance, and I do. A lot of times I do answer emails like that, but it gets to be a nuisance. Anyways, the only power that these New World Order Satanists have over us is through fraud and deception, and my agenda is to expose it for all our benefit, but I cannot fight all the battles. I need people who know the law and what the issues are and are challenging it in their own way, in various ways. And so if someone wants to subscribe to the subscription videos as a donation, it's a modest donation, there's no doubt about it, but a whole bunch of people chipping in a little bit, it adds up pretty fast. I'm currently publishing one video a week, and the top link is to the videos. You can actually, all the videos are on my website, links to them, I should say. The videos are actually on YouTube. The links to them are on my website, so then you can go to this page, and they're organized based on different categories, and you can study them by topic. And then the second link is for subscribers.
Right, the one is informational, the other one is like the training pieces.
Right. Some of my exclusive content is bar members. Number 4, my Arlington Private Information Share, which is 9 videos by itself. My Land deed training, which is a couple videos. Estoppel certificates training. Foreclosure estoppel certificates training. Corporate denial training. Toll roads notice and demand training. Invoice training. Notice of void judgment training. So what I do essentially in those videos is I go through those forms and we talk about the stuff that's in there and then, you know, about things that you should consider, you know, about making changes at different areas and for your personal information and or whatever. Yes?
Are you going to be talking about the land deed stuff here in the next couple of days?
I talked about it the last time. There's a bunch of people that are here for the last time, and we talked about it then. So I'd prefer not to, quite frankly, because it'd be overkill for the people. If someone wants to, if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions. But it's quite a lengthy video, and there's other things I'm sure that people want to cover. But you weren't here when we talked about this, but you know, last time I had an agenda, I had a bunch of presentations I wanted to go through, and I never did any of it because everybody else had other stuff that they were interested in. So if you have presentations you'd like to go through, let me know, and we can certainly do that. We're going to have time, and so I'm open to ideas on what to go through. I have some that like this one that I want to go through for sure. But you know, there's plenty of room for requests and that kind of thing.
Glenn, when are you leaving?
Well, Monday's the last day, but I'm not planning on leaving until I'll probably leave Wednesday.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah, Wednesday, maybe Tuesday night. We're planning on going through Atlanta on the way back.
Oh yeah.
And so we want to get in Atlanta during the day. Last time we left in the morning and got there in the middle of the night, and so.
Hey, go by the Georgia Guidestown.
Well, that would be interesting, but actually, Peter wants to see someone, huh?
You drove?
Yeah. I don't feel like getting groped at the airport.
No, I understand.
But so, anyways, let's keep moving. Some of my other exclusive content is revocation of signature training, third-party witness training, federal habeas corpus training, revocation of voter registration training, criminal complaint training. I've got a couple videos up on that, and there'll probably be more as things come up because that's kind of a dynamic. There's a lot of variables, and like the last one I covered, you know, particularly, you know, you got to use certain words because. A good example is, and matter of fact, what I do is I copy the statute in there and then I use the words out of their statute because it was like Hillary Clinton, you know, they said that she was extremely careless rather than grossly negligent and used that as an excuse to let her off the hook.
Now, another story about this one, my buddy Mark, when we were first starting out back in the day, was sentenced to mental health, 6 months.
He was?
Yeah, he was in mental health for 6 months. We have the YouTube, I don't know if Bats put him up there or
Because
not.
the judge forced him to go?
Yeah, well, he showed up at the hearing and dropped his $2 billion bill on the floor, and they just took him away. We really screwed up a lot in the beginning.
Right.
So he's in 6 months. He's on Holodomor or whatever they're forcibly injecting on him. You know, 10 dudes holding him down to do it because he wouldn't do it. He had a Rule 17, .17, I think it's called, up in Minnesota for the mental health facility. And what he did is he used, while he was on all his drugs and everything else, he actually read the Bible and remembered the Book of Job is how the Book of Job is how all this runs. That's how it all operates, Book of Job. So if you need to read any part, read Book of Job and how he made it through what was going on. But what he did is, while under all that, he wrote up his own .17 ruling while under the effects of the drugs, and all he did was take the words in the statutes and use that. And the next, like within a day or two, I think it was, maybe the next day, he was out. They let him go. And we also found out that in any situation, your plea deal is consideration for a contract. So what he did is he was sitting in there, I think this is the same thing, the .17, he was sitting there, the attorney asked the attorney, he goes, so you all need a plea deal for me to, I'll close this, a plea of guilty for I'll close this out. She's like, yes. He goes, thank you for admitting you don't work for me. And then he goes, and she goes, so you're going to take the deal? He goes, I haven't seen the deal. She goes, but here, he goes, I hear what you're saying, but I have never seen the deal. So he wrote his own. He goes, here's what I want. I'll give you all your guilty plea, but I want 0, 0, 0. I want 0 days, 0 restitution, 0 probation.
There you go.
Boom, done. That's how he negotiated his deal.
And on that, and I was talking, some of you heard this already, I know you didn't, and I know you didn't, but there's a guy that I met in Texas. He's a plastic surgeon. He's got to be a millionaire, but he's been in the medical profession. It's their equivalent of being disbarred because he can't practice medicine anymore. But delicensed or whatever. Yeah. Right. But so he's a smart guy though. He's very, very brilliant. He had filed a lawsuit against a bank over a mortgage, and he had been in court several times in federal court with this judge. And the judge had put him in jail several times for contempt. And now there was a separate issue, another issue that was criminal, and he was being drug in by the prosecutor, I guess it was the U.S. attorney, but I'm not sure. But anyways, he was drug in there, and he was in the same court before the same judge. And he went in there, and he said this. He said, first of all, I'm here by special appearance and not general appearance. And then he said, none of the facts are in dispute. And then he said, I reserve all my rights without prejudice. And that's all he said. And the judge looked at him, and then the judge looked at the prosecutor and started tearing a strip off the prosecutor and told him if he ever bring him back in this court again, he'll have his bar card and he'll have him in jail. Yeah. And then the judge got up and started to walk out. And as he was walking out, over his shoulder, he said, so why can't we do that in this mortgage proceeding? Anyways, which is essentially what you're talking about.
Could he have done that in a mortgage proceeding?
Obviously, the judge said yes. That was the
agreement. The judge said, hey, go ahead and do this in the mortgage proceeding.
He was giving him a hint.
Giving him a hint.
Exactly. He's throwing him a bone.
If you listen to what these guys tell you, they give you hints along the way.
Right.
Right. In 9 years, I had a case for 9 years. It was some guy left me with a business partnership, and he left me with a bag. Left me with a bag, and I paid the debt off with an account closed check, and I got it back, and it had 2 hole punch in, just like Eldrick said it would. And I was like, oh, they processed that. I never heard anything about it. That judge never said one word to me. I never said one word in that courtroom. Nobody ever asked me what my name was. Nobody ever asked me how I pleaded. Nobody ever did this, because what they would do with their summons is they send out the summons. I would write accepted for value on the back side of it. I'd go, officer accepted for value upon proof of claim. I look forward to concluding our business when next we meet. And I would plant my ass in the middle of the courtroom and wait for someone to speak. Not one person spoke. All you ever heard was rustling of papers in the background. And then they go, we got a new public defender on this one. We have to set it off for another couple months. The only problem with that is they'll drag it out. And the reason it lasts so long is I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I knew just enough to keep me out of trouble. Right. Yeah. And it was just, I didn't know how to seal the deal, but it would go on for, a month. They would do every month, and every 2 months, and every 3 months, and then every 6 months. And at 6 months, I'm like, oh, they're resetting every time. Every time they do a 6 months hearing, it's a reset. Right. So everything resets after 6 months. And that's why it's because it's all insurance based.
So you drew it on a closed account?
Yeah,
as a draft or an EFT?
I just sent a check. I sent a check. I put EFT only, and I sent it to the bank.
You said what?
EFT only.
Okay.
And I sent it to the bank. And I had done this twice before. Once with the state, once with the county for a seatbelt violation.
Right.
That they just couldn't let go of until I asked the 2 public defenders. One of them came in and goes, you drew a check on an account closed. I go, yeah. He goes, they want their money. And I go, why they deposit in our general operating fund instead of the treasury like they're supposed to?
Right.
And next question, he's like, you bank with the treasury? I go, don't we all? And he goes, where'd you go to law school? I go, doesn't matter. I never saw him again. The second time we went in, it was after my mom got me out of jail that time, getting a signature bond with my stepdad, so I didn't sign anything. But she brought me in again. She goes, well, you paid with an account closed. I go, you're goddamn right I did. I asked y'all for remedy for months. Y'all didn't give me no remedy, so I created one.
Right.
And
How do you do a signature bond?
My stepdad has credit with a bail bondsman because he has a lot of characters working for him, so he has good credit with a bail bondsman. So he just called up and they issued it. It wasn't nothing I did. It was something that
Why
he
couldn't you
did.
did it as
No,
a
I don't do it. I don't do it. In for 20 days, not knowing how I was going to get out. And Mom came in and visited me one day, saw how I was. She stalked to the steps to my ex-stepdad and her ex-husband, and he got
What
the
jail
bond
were you in?
Pinellas County. And
I was at Dutchess County Jail.
I don't know what that is.
It's in Dutchess County.
Dutchess County. I was in Florida.
Pinellas is outside of Tampa.
See, I think that that they respect you when you're trying to make an effort to learn this stuff.
Yes.
They respect that.
They do.
And they actually try and help you.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Sometimes, not always, but they certainly respect it. And
Depends on your attitude.
and then
I guess.
and then,
sorry.
Depends on your attitude
Yeah,
to them.
and it really does.
Yeah, sure.
It does, because I had another guy I was teaching. He was out of California, and he was with the Right Way, Right Way Law or whatever it was out there, and they were doing their thing. And he comes in here, and I started telling him, I said, look, dude, I put up 6 windows in front of him, and I go, here's the law, here's the military law, translated the stat, and I showed it all to him. So about 2 or 3 days later, he goes into his court case, and we told him to act aloof, not like a doof, so he's sitting there looking like Stevie Wonder at times, and I'm like, dude, come on, man. But he asked, they said the name, and he go, wonder what authority do you recognize me by that name? And after about 10 or 15 minutes of this, they took him away, and they just arrested him, took him into jail. Well, that night, he was visited by another agent, and the agent asked him, what are you going to do about the judge? And he goes, well, I can forgive him his trespasses, he can forgive me for mine. And he was let out the next day. I didn't expect
I've used that before, of course, quite a few times.
Yeah. And that's where the Lord's Prayer thing came about. We started using that, and that poor court shrink, I feel so sorry for her because of everything we did. I mean, she would ask him questions like, well, how do you live? He goes, by the grace of God. Well, how do you eat? By the grace of God. And he goes, well, what came out of my mom's vagina? Me or the birth certificate? and one time they were trying to get me to plea in that court case for 10 years or whatever. And I asked them, why do y'all keep asking me to trespass on the claims of God? So they bring her in there, and she goes back to incompetency so they can settle up the matter. And I'm walking with her outside, and she's walking a little fast, so I walk up, I go, all I want is proof of claim. She goes, I can't talk to you. I go, come on, just give me proof of claim, and you can shove red hot hookers up my ass till the day I die. And she walked faster and faster away from me. Because that's all I was asking for, is proof of claim.
Right.
That's all I wanted was proof of claim. And nobody could ever answer it. And my buddy Mark, all he wants to know is what thing are you demanding in tender of payment? And in tender of payment is in the Constitution, but it's also in the UCC code. Under 3-306, it's tender and payment. So your promissory notes are done in tender of payment in lieu of gold and silver. And anybody who argues with that must define what thing they want in tender of payment.
Yep. Okay, so anyways, the lawsuit training is something that's coming because there's going to be several videos on that one as well. And then other training requests, I'm open to other training requests that people might have. All forms, files, and other instructions are available for free on my 2 private groups at Yahoo Groups and Google Groups. Once we get the internet working, I'll show you my Yahoo Group website, the files directory. There's also a links directory for big files that I'll keep elsewhere. But and then all exclusive content's available on my website, and you can buy a subscription there. I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. because the grand jury is an institution separate from the courts, over whose functioning the courts do not preside, we think it clear that as a general matter, at least, no such supervisory judicial authority exists. And this is actually Scalia that wrote this decision in 1992 in the case U.S. versus Williams.
Right.
And I've got actually several cites from that case. Rooted in long centuries of Anglo-American history, the grand jury is mentioned in the Bill of Rights, but not in the body of the Constitution. It has not been textually assigned, therefore, to any of the branches described in the first three articles. It is a constitutional fixture in its own right. And so, again, they're talking about that it's not under the Article 3 or any other article. It's the people.
Why do they call it a constitutional fixture?
Sorry?
Why are they using the term a constitutional fixture?
Well, because it's in
It's
the
a
Bill of
bit-
Rights. It's in the amendments,
Right.
but it's not in the Constitution
Right,
itself.
yeah.
In fact, the whole theory of its function is that it belongs to no branch of institutional government, serving as a kind of buffer or referee between the government and the people.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense.
Yeah. Although the grand jury normally operates, of course, in the courthouse and under judicial auspices, its institutional relationship with the judicial branch has traditionally been, so to speak, at arm's length. Judges' direct involvement in the functioning of the grand jury has generally been confined to the constitutive one of calling the grand jurors together and administering their oaths of office, and that's it. That's all they do. The grand jury's functional independence from the judicial branch is evident both in the scope of its power to investigate criminal wrongdoing and in the manner in which that power is exercised. Recognizing this tradition of independence, we have said that the Fifth Amendment's constitutional guarantee presupposes an investigative body acting independently of either prosecuting attorney or judge. So this Fifth Amendment is basically what brings in the grand jury. Check out my other videos: Bankster Thieves Playlist, Roman Cult Playlist, Bankrupt Corporate So-Called Governments, Bar Members 1 through 4 actually. Do-it-yourself, how not to volunteer for the selective service in the draft, martial laws here, do-it-yourself, no income tax, do-it-yourself, free mail, do-it-yourself, kangaroo courts 1 through 15, Canada Border Pigs Playlist, Bar Members and their Satanic Connections Playlist. So you have two choices. You can organize yourselves into jural assemblies, or you can continue with the same routine, but you can expect to be continued to be abused, assaulted, kidnapped, sold into slavery, property sold, and murdered, which is what that stuff that was by the order followers, right?
How do we organize as jural assemblies?
Well, that's where I'll give you that information, okay? Because there's conference calls where you can, and on those conference calls there's other people, there's all sorts of people that you can network with, probably, hopefully in your area. You see what I'm saying? Maybe they just need one more person, and you come calling them up and saying, and they'll be just tickled pink that you're wanting to participate. You see what I'm saying?
You know, in my opinion, I just throw this out as a thought, but I see this as a failing of the churches.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Because the churches, I mean, if you get married in the church, right?
It was,
why are you going to the state for divorce?
it was,
You
yeah,
know
no
what I mean?
joke.
No,
It was,
that's just one.
Because you got a marriage license.
Focus.
traditionally, it was the churches that were the ones, the preachers from the pulpit that were encouraging people to do this kind of stuff.
Sharia law doesn't go there, nor does Israeli law. Israeli law, you got the bet din, which is like a jury.
That's right. This is the Texas Jural Assembly conference call. It's every first and third Tuesday, and the dial-in number and the access code. And then this is the National Assembly website, the National Assembly forums, the de facto de jure handbook, and roll call is every Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Central Time. First hour of business. The first hour is business, and the second hour is a general chat and education. And then there's the phone number and the access code. So that's for the National Assembly, yes.
And not to rain on anybody's parade, but I've been on that Michigan one many times, and as far as I can tell, they are still way in the beginning. I mean, they might have a foundation, but they definitely do not have any walls up. And one of their key people got busted, and he's incarcerated now.
Is that Michigan?
Yes.
Is that Robert?
And somebody's been messing with their internet for months.
No doubt. Well, I'm sure they're trying to.
They've been, you know, you don't even get an email that says, hey, reminder, we're having a call tonight.
Well, what I would do, quite frankly, is I can tell you that we're doing them in Texas, and we have been doing them, and I'm going to show you some. Okay.
Well, I hope to hear about it because.
But so the key is that what I would do is get on that call and find some other people in your area that are interested in this stuff and start networking with locals and maybe even set up your own local phone call. And in Texas, I mean, you're welcome to listen in on ours and find out how we're doing it and all the rest of it. Okay? Because I know that
Texas might be farther ahead, but Michigan is the one that Anna and company is always touting, and you know. Just as a layman at arm's length, I can tell you they haven't made a lot of progress. And if some of their people got incarcerated because they haven't corrected their political status, you know, that's really bad.
Well, you know, I don't think it's necessary to correct your political status to be on a jury. Matter of fact, I'm sure it's not. Okay? If you get incarcerated, then it's because the jury's not doing their job. Really. Because the jury, if the jury was doing their job, they'd be bringing an indictment against that judge, and that kind of thing, and that would put the kibosh on that whole
What I'm
procedure.
saying is the Michigan group is still doing a lot of housekeeping.
Well,
A lot of housekeeping.
and
there's
so
a lot that has to be done.
So the point is it's a source for networking. Okay, you can find other people. Whether that's a national one, so it's a place where you can find other people of a like mind. And you can let them know that you're wanting to do something in your area, and you can start a group in your area. You see what I'm saying? And you can find out on the Texas call, because we're doing it, and we have been doing it. Anyways, so I'm just giving you the contact information. At the end of this YouTube video, I'll show you an existing case where a common law jury made a decision, and the defendant brought it into the de facto courts, and it got dismissed.
Is that the TV case?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I read that thing.
And Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death, it was a quote by Patrick Henry after he witnessed a man flogged to death for refusing to take a license. Okay? If a common law jury was operating them, you know, that would get put a stop to. This is the reason the War of Independence is because there was no common law juries operating. And we need to take the ball and run with it. It behooves every man who values liberty of conscience for himself to resist invasions of it in the case of others, or their case may, by change of circumstances, become his own. If you fail to educate people about jury nullification, karma says that you'll get a jury of idiots. Think about it. So again, the burden's on us to start to get up there and start doing things. If you love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of certitude better than the animating contest of freedom, go home from us in peace. We ask not your counsel or arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains set lightly upon you, and may our posterity forget that you were ever a countryman. And that's Samuel Adams. When shall it be said in any country of the world, my poor are happy, neither ignorance or distress is to be found among them. My jails are empty of prisoners, my streets of beggars. Aged are not in want, the tax is not oppressive, the rational world is my friend, because I am a friend of its happiness. When these things can be said, then may that country boast of its constitution and government. And, you know, we have a constitution, but we're not using it. And so we, the people, need to step up and start taking care of business. But if the watchmen see the sword come and blow not the trumpet, and the people be not warned of the sword come, and take any person from among them, he is taken in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at the watchman's hands. Either you're part of the problem, or you're part of the solution. You're now a watchman. Circulate this video far and wide. And okay, so that's the presentation, and I've got the case right here.
Noah preached 120 years, didn't get one convert.
That's true. But that doesn't mean he had to quit, or should have quit.
Well, he didn't quit.
No, he didn't.
Circumstances changed.
That's true. He was relieved of his need to preach.
Yeah.
This is a case WFAA TV versus, and this is in the de facto courts. This is in the 14th Judicial District in Dallas in 1995. And it says here, order of dismissal. It's hereby ordered this cause of action is hereby dismissed for lack of jurisdiction since the subject matter has previously been adjudicated and res judicata does apply and bars this action. And
That was the first case you mentioned earlier, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And how do you define that or verbalize it so I know for the, how do you...
WFAA TV versus Johnston, I guess, eh? Or Lakeview Developers?
Yeah, Johnny Johnson and Wilkins and Lakeview Development.
Right, well, I would just say Johnston et al. And others. You know,
Yeah.
WFAA TV and others versus Johnston and others, right?
What was the essence of their complaint against the TV station in the first place?
If you want to read this thing, you're welcome to.
I
Some
have.
of it's
I
hard
never
to
found
read.
it.
Huh?
I never found it. It sounded like somebody broke into somebody's office and stole some paper.
That's entirely possible. I mean, you can read it as well as I can. And some of it's really hard to read.
Right. I did read it. You sent it to me a couple of days ago.
Right.
Is it really material? What
But
reason
the
was?
important thing
I mean,
is,
maybe, but...
to me, the important thing is the procedures that were followed. In other words, you have all of the jurors, 2, 4, 6, 12 of them, that signed it. So it's not just one person, one living soul. It's notarized.
Right.
This is a Republic of Texas notary too. And then here is where they looked at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7 counts?
Well,
No,
they
this
listed
is where they reviewed the evidence. So every time they signed there was they're saying that they reviewed the evidence. Okay, that's all it's all that they're looking at here.
Right. Is that other page still upside down?
And the clerk is signing there. What's that?
I think the 8th page coming up next, which was the dollar rewards, was upside down. That might be the next page.
Mark stamped with the state. So this is maybe the list of the evidence that was introduced. Judgment metered, need to convert them to judicial judgments. Attest John, Jerry, verify the law from July. Mark stamped with the state. UCC 3, Title 15. 5 million silver dollars, sent copy.
5 billion.
5, okay, billion, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, UCC 4, so this is basically a record of the proceeding.
Yeah.
Let's, I can turn this one around.
Mm-hmm.
Watch this.
It's a lot easier.
Invert image.
That's the dollar rewards.
It's easier than flip the monitor upside down. It was scanned wrong. Was thin on your head.
Things happen when you're scanning.
Ah, there you go. Sometimes you put
There we go.
Fixed it in the copy.
Yeah. So I'll save it. That way, next time I send it out, it'll be right. Anyways, these are, again, I guess this is 12 yes, unanimous, the damages.
Right.
And so the point being is that they had a lawyer that went into court that defended this case, and the lawyer said it was res judicata. And it was because they did it right, okay? In other words, they had all the jurors signed, and all the jurors said, we witnessed the evidence and what the evidence was. You see what I'm saying? And so the important thing is that it has to be done properly so that it has teeth. Otherwise, you're wasting your time.
Was that as a public record filed anywhere, except in this case? Did they have a court of record where they maintained...
The Republic of Texas does have county recorders. Some of them are... Well, some counties don't have them because the offices are vacant.
Right, but what I'm saying, like with the jury here, where would they have filed those documents of their attestation?
It would be filed with the county recorder.
Oh, the picture?
Yeah, no.
Matter of fact, this number right here,
Yeah, it shows a record stamp.
right here, this number could be the county recorder's
Yeah, but I didn't know
number.
if that was filed in
or
the
this
lawsuit
number.
or
Yeah, the other
prior
one's
to.
This number could be that too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I gotta use the restroom real quick. I'm gonna pause this thing. It's one thing about that T is that,
It gets heavy after a while.
and one end and out the other.
Why the ministers participate with the state fraud of the marriage licenses,
Sure.
to get people further into the matrix, so that children are, you know, property with the state.
Right.
The state has an interest in your marriage and any offspring.
And besides that, because they have a 501c3, they have a...
Exactly, they're totally under the, you're
Certain
basically
states
saying,
also
I'm
say
under the
they
authority
put-
of Rome.
Yeah, the government
They're
ain't
with the
aware.
government.
The flag, it's a law, you have to fly the flag.
Adulterers.
Actually, with the marriage,
They
it's
said-
just one corporation and another corporation became parent corporations to a child corporation. It has nothing to do with the biological being.
Yeah, parent corporation and child corporation. That's where
Corporation,
all the
child
established.
corporation.
Yeah.
That's all the marriage certificate does.
Subsidiaries.
Yeah.
And
So a subsidiary of the parent
It had
corporation in
already
the
been
United States.
decided, which is
It's like any two companies who want to merge, they have to get approval to merge. They have to go to the SEC or whatever corporate body is regulating them and say, okay, these two can now merge, or this one has to sell off these assets here to prevent a monopoly.
They wouldn't tell you.
This
See-
is the first thing that stuck my
See
mind.
here?
Spiritual
It says,
freedom.
Hold on, guys.
The common law source.
it says here, our one Supreme Court. So they went, so really, anybody can do it. Okay, you don't have to be in a county. It's our one Supreme Court, United States of America.
So they
Okay.
had the seal and they signed off on it?
And they put the seal on there, they had the seal made, and so this is probably not the only case that they did.
Right.
But the point is that, like we're in Texas, we have similar problems to what you have, okay? We don't have, enough people in one county that are willing to get together to convene a jury, and so we're some of the counties we do. And with there's a difference between the Republic of Texas and the state of Texas. In other words, the Republic of Texas has 35 counties, and the state of Texas has 211. And sorry?
They do?
Uh-huh. And so, and the Republic of Texas includes counties in Wyoming and in Colorado and in New Mexico. The
Really?
Republic of Texas goes to the Rio Grande, okay? And it goes up to Sheridan, it includes Sheridan, Wyoming. Anyways, the point being is that because some of these counties, it's you got a pretty big area that you can draw people from to convene a jury. And so, because the Republic of Texas is an entity that has existed since 1836, and it's well documented, and so we can do that. But we've also considered having a statewide grand jury and statewide common law jury. And so then it would just have a Republic of Texas seal, with one Supreme Court or something like that. You see what I'm saying? Or a common law court. Yes.
Where are they getting their funding for to run these operations?
Voluntary. And we
Because
have a filing
it's
fee.
It's very difficult to get a jury to wake up and do their job when they're not compensated.
I understand.
And I'm in the middle of one right now, and it's absolutely unbelievable. We've had to replace jurors numerous times because they say they want to be a juror, they sign on to be a juror, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, we got to read these documents, we got to think about the law.
Yeah, I know.
It's unbelievable.
I know.
Takes recruiting and.
It's an education. You got to educate them, and you got to tell them that you got to commit to. We're going to be having meetings, and you got to commit to coming, and you have to commit to spending the time. Either that, or we don't want you. And you got to understand that if you have an issue, that we might not be available for you either. If you're not going to help us out, then I don't know that we can help you out. You see what I'm saying? And so you got to twist their arm a little bit and get them to participate.
and get more and more people involved.
And
as more and more are involved, it creates excitement. Other people want to join
I
because
understand, but we're on the
if it's
bleeding
only
edge of
three,
this deal.
we are. There's no
You're
doubt
on the
about it.
bleeding edge of it.
There's-
What you're saying
at
is
this
one
meeting-
thing. I got a case right now that's in the common law court.
At this
Modeled after that one.
At this meeting, we had probably, I'd say probably 20 people at this meeting I went to that were from Houston alone. And so obviously Houston's not going to have too much trouble.
Right.
But I'm up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and it's not going to be so easy for us.
Mm-mm.
I don't know what to
Do
say.
the jurors have to be from, Texas? Not necessarily.
Well, they have to be from the geographical area for the court, but that's why what I would do, quite frankly, is I'd have one Supreme Court, United States of America, you know,
I can show you. what
New
we've
Jersey
done.
State.
I can show you what we've done for Florida.
Well, okay, you can show me. That's fine. I'd be interested. Maybe I'll make a video.
It was modeled after that.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Modeled after.
So the point is that you got to do some research. You got to talk to people, see how they're doing it, and what works and what doesn't work. You see what I'm saying? Yes.
The Republic was there before any county institution, right? The Republic was there first.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well, he said
The Texas is different, but-
1840, whatever, 5, whatever.
Common law was there.
1830.
Common law is natural law, and that was there before the government.
Okay,
Right.
so then why do we need to have jurors in so many in the county that wasn't there when the Republic was there, when the Republic was created?
You want to do everything you can to make it look as legitimate as possible
But this-
because,
But the Republic
like I
was there
said,
first.
you want them to recognize it
Why?
because
If
you
you
want
get
to.
it-
You
if you
want
get a judge-
maybe you want to waste your time, but I don't.
If you
And-
get a
and
judgment,
I
you gotta
want
work with
them-
the
No,
sheriff.
we've been doing this over 10 years, and we're going around, we're trying to get people into their county where the Republic is already there. All we have to do is get so many jurors in the Republic
That's
and
what-
go anywhere we want to go in the
Yeah, but-
township, city, whatever you want to call it, that's in the Republic.
Like I said, there's nothing saying that you couldn't have a statewide jury and common law jury. Okay?
I think we got
Like
a
I said.
nationwide jury.
Huh?
I think we are using
Nationwide, as in the United States of America?
the 50 states. They got to be from one of the states.
Well, you got to have people that are going to be close enough that they can attend the
Yeah,
meetings.
I think it's going to be done on a county basis because the sheriff is.
It's
the-
better to
you're
have
going
it-
back to
I
that
agree.
element of
It's
law.
better to have it on a county basis of one of their de facto counties. But even if it's not one of their de facto counties, again, you're going to have to see what works. Okay, this is a work in progress.
The
But-
the sheriff is recognized in law as the highest of, law.
In the county.
In the land, right. He can keep the feds out, he can keep the
Right,
IRS out.
and so
you know.
that's another thing we need to be working on is educating our sheriffs and introducing them to Sheriff Mack and his Constitutional Peace Officers and Sheriffs Association.
And I'm sure you know, there's only about, 500 or something constitutional sheriffs signed up to that organization.
I know.
And there's like 3,500 sheriffs in the country.
Well, and so you got to
So
educate them.
There's an issue there.
You're going to have to
17%
reach
of
out
the
to them.
sheriffs.
You have to reach out to them and educate them and tell them that you expect them to honor their oath of office.
Rhode Island doesn't even elect their sheriffs.
And
They're appointed by the governor.
if you have any trouble with that, then you tell them that you're going to have to work on getting them removed. You know, I think that if they start seeing, you get them, you support someone who is willing to do it at the next election, and build a case against the one that's perjuring his oath. That's what I would do.
Criminal complaints,
That's right. What?
I'm a jurist for the Republic of Texas.
Okay.
I got volunteered, and said, why can't we set up sheriffs for the Republic of Texas?
We do have sheriffs for the Republic
Well,
of
then
Texas.
why are we going to the county sheriffs? See, that's why are we going
We have-
out of the
it's easier.
jurisdiction of the Republic?
It's the de facto will recognize it, and it's better if we get their support.
Exactly. And it's easier.
It's
And
better,
and they can wear two different hats. And it's easier because they are already there. They're already recognized. It's good enforcement with somebody that's already.
This case was, millions of dollars. Okay, and so what happened is this TV station all of a sudden had no credit because they sent a copy of this thing to Dun and Bradstreet, and this TV station had no credit. And that's why they brought the action in the de facto courts. And so I don't know what it cost them. You know, I don't think they paid, but I think that it hurt them really bad, especially when the court dismissed the case and they found out that there was nothing they could do. So it's going to take more than one case for us to. We got to just one at a time build a case against them and prosecute them. And that's really what it comes down to.
This is very good because it gives credence to that this can be done.
See, this is notice it says
others to do it.
Republic of Texas, our one Supreme Court. So this could be any county. And it says common law venue, original and exclusive jurisdiction, the Superior Court sitting with the power of a circuit and United States District Court in and for Ellis County, Texas Republic, United States of America. So this is Ellis County, which is in Texas, in the Republic of Texas. Ellis County is a lot bigger than the state of Texas, Ellis County. It probably includes, you know, maybe 20 state of Texas counties. And so that's useful for Texas, but it doesn't help in New Jersey. But the point is that in New Jersey, there's no reason why you couldn't have a New Jersey-wide grand jury and a New Jersey-wide trial. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And other states, there's no reason why you couldn't do the same thing.
Right, well, we wanna hear these ideas because I got case number 1 in that position, I got 4 more ready to go.
You got to recruit. You got to get other
You got to get people involved.
Get your family members.
And educate them.
Neighbors. Whoever.
And again, I got YouTube videos. You can show them the YouTube videos. There's a lot of things you can do. You're in the District of Columbia, right? Or in Maryland, right?
Yeah, my case is in Brevard County, Florida, on the Space Coast.
Okay. So, but there's people here that are from Florida.
Right.
And so there's other people from Florida that I know that I'm in touch on my group for sure. There's people in Florida that are on my group for sure. And so there's I don't know where they're at in Florida because I don't ask that kind of information. It's really nobody's business but their own. But if you want to network with people like that.
One thing you can do is in local newspapers, they have community calendar, and put a notice in there of a meeting that's coming up, and you invite people, say, trying to organize a common law grand jury, please come on down on this date at this time to learn about it.
We don't have physical meetings like that, it's virtual.
Right, the only thing with...
See, get a load of this.
You can also do it that way.
Get a load of this. People in and for the United States of America, ex-rel, FR Johnny Johnston, plaintiff, AA Bello Corporation, this WFAA-TV, defendant, and then it says private judgment lien notice to all appellate subdivisions of the appellate jurisdiction of the Supreme Court of the United States, et al., to all financing institutions in the United States and their agents, subjects, et al., and it's a true bill under a UCC 4 affidavit, UCC 3, and commercial lien. And so they even use the Uniform Commercial Code in this thing. So
do they use notaries that are under the authority of the court, or regular public notaries that are
the
established?
Republic of Texas has our own notaries.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how are they commissioned?
They have a bond. It's 21 pieces of silver.
Okay.
And they have an oath of office and all the rest of it, just like any other notary.
But a real notary is also the justice of the peace. The office isn't split.
Well, I'm not sure about that with the Republic of Texas. I don't think so. But I can tell you that they do have a certificate of commission saying that they're commissioned as a notary. I've got a commission as a charge d'affaires. When I was up here in New York working, I was a charge d'affaires for the Republic of Texas. So I've got a commission saying that I was a charge d'affaires for the Republic of Texas. So I mean, they do all that stuff. I mean, they're technically correct on I haven't seen anything.
That's all part of of establishing the.
Right.
The
government.
Right, the government, you know, the de jure government.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
Absolutely.
So anyways, they're saying this is basically a commercial lien, and here it's signed by all the judges. Oh, here and it's in the amount of 1 billion silver coin, $1 billion in silver coins.
Against the judge who's giving us problems, and they'll never get out that we're after them. There you go.
And it's notarized.
We have our.
You know, if you guys want to talk, why don't you go outside, please? If you guys want to talk, out there. Thank you. Anyways, this is it's going through and showing how they looked at all the evidence. I think we already talked about that. It's a commercial lien. They're using the Uniform Commercial Code in here. This is the U.S. Court of Appeals. Now, I'm not sure why they put this in here.
Is it an exhibit? Yeah, it's an exhibit. Exhibit 1A up top on the left.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'll let you have that. Thank you. So they're using it as an exhibit. Common law court. So they use these previous court cases as substantiation to show that they could do what they did.
What's the date on that one?
This is a letter from Jesse Enlow, who was a former president of the Republic of Texas. This is this is the decision of the 10th Circuit United States Court of Appeals.
The date might be on the bottom of that, on the signature.
This is just Jesse Enlow's. He's a former president of the Republic of Texas. He's passed away now. But this is here's the motion to dismiss with brief. So this is their attorney. These guys' attorney, the defendants in this case, their attorney's motion to dismiss. So their attorney is who moved the court to dismiss this case, and the court obviously agreed with them. Judicial notice of no venue or jurisdiction.
Right. Why did the plaintiff fight that dismissal?
Sorry?
Why did the plaintiff fight the dismissal?
I'm sure they did.
What?
I'm sure they did.
Is it in there, what they did?
I don't know. Let's look and see.
That's the whole chronological.
That's the whole thing. They got dismissed, but what did they do? Did they try to stop it?
I'm sure they did. I mean, they spent the money to file a case. It was lawyers that did it all. I'm sure they did. But brief in support of defendant's answer and motion to dismiss.
That's Dallas County.
I don't want to read all this today, so I mean you can download it and read it if you want. But let's see what some of the other documents are that they have in here. And that's their liar.
Yeah.
And this is the citation they were served with. Citation is a religious document, a Roman cult. I don't know if you know that or not, but that's true. Anyways, this is the citation. This is defendant's answer. Okay, so so far there's nothing from the plaintiffs. And this is as counsel for the plaintiffs. Okay, so this is a letter, a personal letter, via hand delivery from the liars for the plaintiff, trying to get them to dismiss it. As counsel, I'm writing to ask the court to reinstate this case. An order of dismissal was signed on 19th of December. Plaintiffs never had an opportunity to be heard in opposition to the motion to dismiss. More importantly, the motion to dismiss is specious At the suggestion of the court's clerk, I presented this matter to the court in this letter rather than through a motion to reconsider or other motion. So obviously that's what happened then, isn't it? And this is the judgment. This one's easier to read than the other one, except that the stamp is all over it there. Fee is $1. And this is private lien and judgment again. $1 silver, I'm sure, yes. Another judgment. That one's 1,000,000,000 silver ounces. And that's it. That's all that's in here. So the only thing that's in here is a letter from the plaintiffs asking why you dismissed it, and I don't think it. I think it stayed dismissed because again it's res judicata. So when that judge did that without even giving them an opportunity to respond, I think that's like a major snub.
Yep.
That's like, you stupid idiots, why did you even bring this case in the first place? You know what I mean?
I appealed the whole case after that.
Huh?
Federal judge did that to me, gave me 3 days to respond, he closed it, dismissed it.
Right.
With prejudice.
Right.
I was just going after my fees. After he did that, I reopened the whole case. The whole file went in, 4 years of paperwork.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd you reopen it?
It's a
Motion to reopen?
appeal.
Oh, you appealed it?
Yeah, appeals to
Yeah,
the Third Circuit.
Okay. Okay, well, so anyways, the point is that this is a case, and there's other cases. I know there was a case that went on against Garland too. Okay, the city of Garland. There was, around this time, there was a case against the city of Garland. They violated somebody's rights, and they got indicted, and then they were invited to a trial, and they didn't show up, and then they got convicted, and then they couldn't get insurance or bonding or anything, and so then they brought it. So it's similar to this one, and they got overruled. So there's at least 2 cases that I know about that that this happened to.
Overruled or upheld?
The cases got dismissed.
Right. You said overruled.
The common law cases were upheld.
Where they were sustained.
They were sustained. That's right. Well, they're superior courts.
Right.
The de
courts
facto
are like,
courts.
why am I even discussing it? I have no
Authority. That's right.
authority.
It's res judicata.
That's like an appeals court or a municipal court.
Telling an appeals court to
something.
dismiss it.
Right.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Right. Right. Even the Supreme Court of the United States is inferior to a common law court.
That's right, they're all courts of inferior jurisdiction.
They're courts of inferior jurisdiction.
And Supreme Court has stated that.
Yeah.
Aren't there 2 Supreme Courts? Does anybody know?
There is.
Isn't there one?
There's a Supreme Court of the
Isn't
District
there-
of Columbia, and there's a Supreme Court of the United States of America.
What's
They
the one
both
in-
operate in the same building.
Someone claims that there's the real the most authoritative.
I've heard about that.
Is in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
There's no
Theoretically, maybe, but you know, I don't see.
No,
I don't.
say that the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania is superior to
Right.
Because
the District of Columbia, the one that you're
That's
talking about.
probably the one that is the Supreme Court of the United States of America, because it's outside of DC.
Well, but you know, the question I have is, show me a ruling that they've made that's overridden the Supreme Court of the United States.
Maybe they have done.
You know, people have all these theories, but cash talks and BS walks. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's time to do it, because they probably haven't been in operation in a long time.
Maybe.
Let's try to overrule the U.S. Supreme Court decision.
File
Take
it
it to
with
the Supreme Court
the Supreme Court of
There you go.
Pennsylvania and see what happens.
Right?
Maybe they're just waiting.
You're close by it. You're close by it.
It's 5:30. Do we want to go for dinner?
Well, another half hour, or go for dinner.
We could. Okay. Well, this is about done. Now, was there anything that we want to talk about with this, or with anything else?
I have a question. My basic question, which you answered yesterday, but I haven't watched the video on it yet. And
Right.
that is, my first step is to become file a...
To assert yourself
To assert myself.
is
assert myself is
affidavit of corporate denial.
Affidavit of corporate denial.
That's right.
And once one does that, and who are we...
You need to record it. Now, there's something about, let me show you an affidavit of corporate denial.
And this came about, guys and ladies, because my question is, I hear a lot of different things to do, but I wanted to know what the foundational items that he felt are personally important in order to begin to assert my sovereignty. And once that act is taken, what the benefits are.
Right, you're talking about a foundational document for yourself.
Or number of steps. Because it's like, I don't want to, I feel paralyzed.
Where to start? He wants to know what's the first step. Where to start?
Foundational. It's the foundation.
I am the act of God doing the will of God.
Well, I don't want to be locked up for no good reason.
But you get used to it.
That's the foundational document right there.
You get used to it.
The truth behind the birth certificate is what? What does it register and record?
An
The
event.
event.
What's the event?
The birth.
Of what?
A corporation.
No.
No. A living person.
No.
No.
What's the event that happened to create the spawning of a birth certificate? Wasn't it the act of God?
No.
Didn't the act of God spawn the birth certificate?
I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, at least it
Didn't
spawned the baby that was born.
Right.
You can make that argument.
The act of God created the baby, the union of the male and female energies. He created the baby.
Mm-hmm.
The baby comes out. The birth certificate is ready. Therefore, it registers and records the event of the act of God.
Okay.
So if it's an act of God, in a world of insurance, what's the only thing that's uninsurable?
Act of God.
There you go. There's your exemption.
And strikes.
And what?
And strikes.
Strikes.
Well, that's an exclusion in insurance.
They say exclusion, strikes, and act of God.
I don't know what. Oh, strikes. Okay, like
Strikes,
labor strikes.
labor strikes, yeah.
Okay. But so the birth certificate actually records the act of God and creates the corporation associated with it. Therefore, that act of God cannot be held liable for anything it does in the insurance world, for any losses it creates, because this is all insurance.
That's a good argument.
No losses can be attributed to it, and that's really what they're stealing from you, is your act of God. And they're turning into an act of statute, because the birth certificate is an act of statute. It's a creature of statute, not an act of God.
And according to their statutes, the birth certificate's not to be used for identification either.
Right.
Well, not only that, according to the guy who yelled at me 8 times about it. I literally,
there was a YouTube video by this guy from Canada that was going through that, and it was really good.
Vic Beck.
Well, no, it wasn't Vic Beck. It was someone else.
Adam. He calls himself Adam. He calls himself
is that
Hallow.
Vic Beck?
It's Vic Beck. He
Oh,
goes
is that
under.
right? Okay.
He changed it to Hallow 1 point. Now he's Adam.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay, so Vic Beck.
Whatever floats his boat.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's actually a very interesting and probably 100% correct. You know, I still have to. I believe it's probably true, but I can't say for sure because I haven't done the research. But at any rate, this is the corporate denial. This is like the second page. This first page is just some preamble stuff. The important thing here is right here, under Texas Rules of Civil Procedure, an allegation that a corporation is incorporated shall be taken as true unless denied by the affidavit of the adverse party, his agent or attorney, whether such corporation is a public or private corporation and however created. And so, again, that's in Texas Rules of Civil Procedure, but actually there's court cases that talk about the same kind of thing. Failure of any adverse party to deny under oath allegation that party is a corporation dispenses with the necessity of proof of that fact, and that's Galleria Bank versus Southwest Properties. This is a federal court case. Actually, this is 498 Southwest 2D, which I'm not sure what that's a federal. That's probably some state court case.
That'd be a federal case.
But anyways, then also when the complainant is lodged by the government for a fine, fee, or tax, all of which are revenue, they are imposed only on corporations. That's Colonial Pipeline Company versus Triangle. That's U.S. Supreme Court. And then if respondent is not a corporation, he cannot appear and plead. And that's West Union Telephone Company versus Iser. And also there's a bunch of other sites here. And so the point being is that there's a whole bunch of reasons why you've introduced evidence, or someone has, that there's this corporation. You need to introduce evidence, something that you can introduce as evidence in court that says that you're not a corporation.
So you're officially
And
denying what they said.
That's right. That's right. And and another important part of this is when you get it recorded with the county recorder, so that it becomes a government document then, and all judges have to give judicial notice to a government document. And that's also extremely important, because otherwise they can turn it over and look at the back and say, I don't see anything here that affects this case. And all of their stuff is corporate law.
What is this part of?
Where?
Is this just a document?
Affidavit of corporate denial.
Affidavit of corporate denial?
Right. Anyways,
That's basically dealing with that prejudice,
now-
presumption, sorry.
now, there's a bunch of court cases here, and I don't want to go through them all. The important thing that I want to show here also is the statement of original status. And that's down here. This is quite lengthy, actually. But there's a statement of original status in here, and it's up to you whether you want to put this in or not. You can take it out if you wish. The reason you have a statement of original status is because of the maxim of law, which we'll talk about right here, which says that the right of blood and kindred cannot be destroyed by any civil law. And so, if
That goes against the corruption of blood.
exactly.
They cannot pass any law that prevents corruption of blood.
Exactly. And so that goes, if you can come up with an ancestor that was here prior to the Civil War, then it becomes corruption of blood. Okay? And I have an ancestor that was here before the War of Independence. And so that's what this statement of original status is right here. My ancestry going back to the 1700s.
Are you laying out your ancestry chain right there?
Uh-huh. And plus I attach a pedigree chart, and the purpose of that is to essentially say, if you don't like this ancestor, I got a whole bunch more to pick from.
Wasn't our ancestor Adam here before?
Well, whatever. The point is the Constitution, okay? Adam wasn't here when the Constitution was done. And so, another thing to consider is I've got a YouTube video called the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act. And that's a recording by Al Barcroft, who is dead now, by the way. But he talks about the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act and his assertions in federal courts. And one of the things he says is that even if you can't come up with an ancestor that was here before the Civil War, and I'm not telling you to do this, okay? I'm not telling you to fraudulently make an affidavit. But he says in that video that if someone was to just make it up, okay, then the only people that can call him a liar is someone that has first-hand knowledge of that, first of all, and who has first-hand knowledge of your ancestry.
They're all dead.
Well, that's right. And so secondly, the people that are trying to violate your rights are nothing but thieves and pirates. And so you have to decide what you want to do as far as your pedigree chart and your ancestry. I have ancestors that were here prior to the Civil War. If and so I would suggest that you watch that video about the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act and come to your own conclusions about what you're prepared to do. If you have ancestors that were here prior to the Civil War, then use them. And if you can take them back before the War of Independence, then that's even better. But as far as making anything up or anything like that, that's entirely up to you. I would never encourage you to do something like that. But I'm not sure who could call you a liar if you did. Yes.
Your ancestor that came over before the Civil War or whatever, they lived in one of the colonies?
Virginia.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's a requirement. I mean.
Yeah, I had. There's a family story, in fact, that I had. My middle name is Winningham.
Right.
Okay. Well, my mother had an ancestor in my mother's family that his name was Buckingham, as in Buckingham Palace,
Right.
where the Queen lives.
Right.
Anyways, his name was Buckingham, and he got into these duels in the 1600s, and he was a good shot, so he won the duels. And these people that he killed, obviously, they were pissed off at him, and so they were hunting him down, wanting to get him in duels. And he didn't want to be getting into these duels all the time. So he came to America and changed his name to Winningham.
Oh, right.
Winning the duel.
Yeah.
Winningham, yeah, that's right. So that's how the Winningham name, I guess, got started here in America. And all the Winninghams here I'm probably related to somehow.
I was
But,
never all that interested in the genealogy until this issue
right.
came up.
This is extremely powerful.
We
Your
have it since
right of blood,
1631.
corruption of blood. Boris nailed it on the head.
So you forgot the part about who knows who was sleeping with who back then anyway.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Al Barcroft says that. Who knows who was sleeping with who back then? So they actually, black people, he said, Al Barcroft says that black people have actually claimed, used the statement of original status because who knows who was sleeping with who back then? I mean, it's well known that many of these, like Jefferson, had kids that were black. So, again, you all have to decide what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, but I just wanted to bring to your attention this statement of original status, and I just want to read this last paragraph. It's a big one, but it's really powerful in my opinion, and I got to tell you, in all honesty, I didn't make this up. I got it from someone. All of my stuff, I don't make up much by myself. What I do is I get it from someone else.
Everything I do is plagiarized.
Well, and it's really good stuff. It's really good stuff.
It's borrowing and sharing.
Well, it's exactly. Anyways, it says that I affirm that I, John Henry, House of Doe, am of the Adamic race as a white Christian male, and that I do not now, nor would I ever voluntarily give up my unalienable, which means cannot be taken away, God-given, constitutionally secured Christian rights and responsibilities. For I, John Henry, House of Doe, have never knowingly given up my birthright as one of the direct descendants of the posterity, as noted in the preamble both of the Arizona State Constitution, 1905, and the Constitution of the United States of America, 1786, and its Bill of Rights, 1791, and also designated in the Declaration of Independence, 1776, foreign because my fifth great-grandparents, who were James I, House of Henry, and Sarah Nichols, House of Henry, whose grave sites and gravestones are clearly marked, now serve as an at-law public notice of their once existence and their judicial power citizenship status, which was passed on to me, John Henry, House of Doe, as an inheritance foreign because James I, House of Henry, who's naturally given birth in the year 1756, living on the land now known as Prince George County in Virginia Colony, which ultimately became Virginia State, a state in the Union States of America under the Articles of Confederation, 1781, and the Constitution for the Republic of the United States of America, and whereas James A, House of Henry, who's given birth in the year 1756, and Sarah Nichols, House of Henry, whose birth in the year 1760, were joined in the state of holy wedlock in the year 1792, and were living on the land now known as Randolph County, Virginia, a state in the Union States of America. And these pioneers were the people who were the part, process, and action which eventually led to the establishment of the Statehood Enabling Acts of Congress, 1796 for Tennessee, 1821 for Missouri, 1905 for Arizona, which then allowed the 5,000 free white males within the boundaries then designated as territories to create said states, and the true copy of the current pedigree chart, which is attached here to, all of which is incorporated herein by reference in its entirety. And then it quotes, the right of blood and kindred cannot be destroyed by any civil law. And anyways, so I think that paragraph is long, but it's really powerful. And again, it comes down to right of blood, and it's even under Roman law, there's nothing they can do. And it's all Roman law that's going on right now. And
so this denial, okay, now we have that, and that rebuts the authority of the straw man.
The evidence out there that there's this fictitious entity.
So that's evidence. We're creating evidence.
That's right.
We're affirming evidence.
You got to record it. Record it in the county, and if one county won't do it, take it to another county.
So therefore, if we're assaulted by whomever,
right,
this is our defense.
That's right.
It's that simple. Right?
That's right.
Now they may or may not honor the defense.
Well, again, there's some of them, they perjure their oath. What I do is I'll send them,
So you use that?
I send them a notice and demand. Absolutely, I use it.
Oh, that's
I
your
send them a
first-
notice and demand, and the notice and demand has the filing number in the county recorder
Okay.
that's located, and I even have a link
So
to the
you're
county recorder's website so they can go and look it up, and they can look at it.
This is a response to,
I send anybody I send it to every head of every law enforcement agency, every chief judge, every chief of police, every county sheriff, every city attorney, every county attorney, every anybody that might be interested in attacking me.
ahead of time.
I had it ahead of time. That's right.
The-
Before they ever see me on the radar.
The strength of that is, as a public record, they can't deny
That's right.
public record.
That's right.
If
And
they do, they violate themselves.
I serve it by registered mail, so I have proof, absolute proof. Registered mail is kept under lock and key, and there's a chain of custody kept by the post office. I serve it by registered mail and on them, and that's effectively service. Okay, you can actually use registered mail to show proof of service in a lawsuit, because I've done that too, and it was no problem. And so you don't have to have a process server. You can use registered mail.
Alright, so it's cheap.
And so, yes.
Well, I don't want to change the whole focus, but I do have a question I'd like you to address eventually, which is registered versus certified mail.
Yeah, I just said
Well,
it.
you said chain of custody, and I understand that.
Certified mail, there's no chain of custody, and it's net kept under lock and key. It's just a tracking number is all it is.
Right, is
So-
somebody going to claim that they modified the document?
That's right. That's right. That's right. So I only use registered mail if I really want proof of service, and part of that is putting paper tape all over the thing, and the post office goes and stamps all over it, so then you can tell if it's been tampered with. I mean, it's all part of your proof of service.
Right. What about using notary presentment with certified mail versus just going registered?
It would be absolutely useless, because once the post office had it, it would not be under lock and key, and there'd still be no chain of custody. So what use is that? If you're in commerce, then absolutely certified mail works just fine. But if you want proof of service where you can go after somebody's bond and get them some free room and board in Crowbar Hotel, then registered mail is the only way to do it. If you want to just get money, then certified mail works fine.
The registered mail, everyone who touches that piece has to sign off on it.
That's right.
Yeah, so the registered mail has a pedigree of everybody who
No,
touched it, right?
I'm familiar with it. They use different vehicles, it's locked up
Oh,
in
that's
different
right.
spots. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
they,
Right, so that's the major
what they
difference.
tell me,
It's
'cause
also
if you
international.
go to the post office and ask.
Oh, they're
people,
going to tell you don't need to do that, of course,
They
but
might say
but
that, but they're
are you
very
willing?
knowledgeable.
First of all, you got to understand, okay, that you go to some government agency like the post office, and the guy says, "Oh, you got to have a driver's license, or you should use certified mail." You know what they're doing? They're representing you. They're saying you're a U.S. citizen. You're one of the slaves. You got to follow these slave rules. So, are you going to let them get away with that? You're going to sit there and even listen to it? You know, I don't know, but I don't. It's up to you.
I didn't ask their opinion, I just asked them the difference between certified and registered, and they explained it.
Whatever. You again, if they're telling you what to do, then they are making a legal determination for you. They're representing you.
They weren't
And
doing that. They
what-
weren't doing that.
Huh?
They weren't doing that.
Well-
I asked them a specific question, they didn't make any legal determination.
Well,
I just-
yes, they are. Actually, they are. And they're representing you because they're telling you that you can use that. And you have to know what your response is that, oh, so this is going to be proof of service, this is going to be kept under lock and key, and there's going to be a chain of custody so that I can sue somebody's butt off on the other end when they violate my rights, and you watch that clerk all of a sudden backpedal.
Right, it's gotta be registered too.
I mean, it really, you know, there's these clerks all the time make legal determinations for you. They think, well, first of all, if you go into a DMV, you got to be one of the slaves, and so, you know, again, if you're dealing with like some court clerk and you ask them how you do this, well, you know, a lot of times they're very helpful, quite frankly, but at the end of the day, they're making legal determinations for you, and the burden's on you to know what you want to do and how you want to do it, and sometimes You just don't listen to them because they're representing you. They're idiots, okay? Like the idiot that's behind the bench. So anyways, you know, again, you have to decide what you want to do and how you want to do it.
Question, so I hear from a.
It's registered mail is the only way. Any more questions about the?
Yeah, the notice and demand is, so you send a notice and demand to, with this initially?
No.
To those people?
I
You wait
don't.
until, the notice and demand is after something happens.
I record this. No.
Just record it.
No. I record this. It's an affidavit. I record it. A notice and demand is nothing more than a letter. It's just signed.
You're just saying, you're
This is
noticing
notarized.
you're noticing everyone that this has been recorded.
That's right. That's part of it.
And what
But
do you
there's other stuff that you say in the notice and demand too.
Okay.
Okay.
Is this on your forms?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It'll be in the files directory in the Yahoo group.
Okay.
And how does that affect one's contracting status, like with a driver's license or all the other items that, like,
Well,
if I do this, I'm saying.
The way you have to look at it,
I'm-
the way you have to look at it, is they have all these fish hooks in you,
I feel
okay?
it,
And you just got to pull them out one at a
yeah,
time,
one at a time.
okay? And just quit dealing with it. You see what I'm saying? Don't get these fish hooks in you. And that's basically the way you have to look at it. So nobody's born sovereign. I mean, we're all educated by the government's educational system. Their government's educational system has taught us how to operate in their system. But they haven't taught us everything. And that's the purpose of what I do, is I teach you this other stuff that's outside the box and how to get along and not be in their system. Now, Boris tells you more about how to operate in their system, and that's valuable, especially sometimes you really have to be in their system. And if you do have to be in their system, then you need to jump through the hoops.
And you're protesting the whole time.
Well,
That-
yes and no. Actually, if you're going to be in the system, then you're in the system. You're a slave. And the key is not to bring up, like I would never, if I was, like for example, I have a rental car, okay? And so therefore, the straw man has a driver's license. So when I get stopped by the cops, or if I got stopped by the cops, quite frankly, hello?
In the rental car.
In the rental car, I would probably give them a driver's license. And in a case like that, I would probably just pay the fine. Whatever it is, just make peace, okay? Because going to court after something like that and say, oh, I'm sovereign, okay, that's like putting a big target on you. And so
especially driving
either
home.
that or I might use one of Boris's techniques and deal with it that way. But the bottom line is that I wouldn't go in there and say, oh, I'm sovereign, I'm the king. What do you guys want me for? You know, that's like, and so again, you got to know the nature of what's going on and how to deal with it.
You gotta know when to
Now, what
hold
if
and
you're
when to
not in
fold
a
it.
rental
And when to
car,
bluff.
in your private?
Now, what you could do with a driver's license is really simple. With his affidavit there, Your Honor, I do not believe I was acting in a corporate capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, say it again?
Your Honor, I do not. I have good faith belief I was not acting in a corporate
Not
capacity.
acting in the corporate thing.
That's right.
Well, you could say all that
Oh, yeah,
when
the
you
license.
actually get stopped by the cop because
Well, what
it's
if they
a
come and say, well,
process
New York
Yeah,
State
you
law
can
says
go
that
through,
you
Yeah.
get to
which is
ship.
your prima facie
Uh-huh.
evidence.
Right.
New York
That
State
when
law
you
get
says
to
you gotta
court,
ship.
You
You've
bring up that
already
same Supreme Court
That's
case.
right.
By your
If I'm not a
actions.
corporation.
Well,
I don't have to ship.
and what I do is I'll say, do you have evidence that I'm carrying passengers or property for hire? And
That's what this is as well.
And that's why
Well, there
we
you
do
go.
the whole,
That's
you
right.
know, excuse me, what's the
So,
problem?
That's right.
As soon as those
That's
lights
the
come
prima
on,
facie evidence.
declare
That's
state
The
of
cop's going to have to
emergency.
produce in court.
yeah,
So what's
that's
the
right.
problem? Well, you were
Says
speeding.
he
Well,
was
what's the
acting
emergency?
outside.
That's
You
a
were
problem.
speeding.
That's a
Well,
problem.
what's the problem?
Yeah.
So I mean,
I wasn't acting
it's
in
just
a corporate
understanding what's
capacity,
going on.
so what's the
There's a
problem?
guy that I know.
I wasn't hauling hazardous materials. That's
I
corporate.
can only
capacity.
listen to one at a time.
That's what I was talking about.
I understand, but it's
There's
overriding.
there's a guy that I know that he'll get stopped by the cops. He'll roll the window down and he'll say, "Is this a custodial stop?" And in other words, you're going to arrest me and take me to jail, and the cop will say no. And so then he'll say, "Okay, thank you, have a nice day," and he'll drive away.
Then I'm done, no further questions.
But he can get away with it because he knows what to do. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not sure that I would do that. But you know, quite frankly, if I'm driving my truck, well, it's actually not mine, it's owned by a trust, but if I'm driving that truck, they see that license number, they know, and so they know right off the bat. You know, as a matter of fact, I rarely get stopped because I think they know. That's why I like driving a rental car, because it gives me a certain amount of anonymity, because they know my truck. And they pull up that license plate, you know, you see these YouTube videos of these cops driving down the road with the scanner that's in a city, and there's cars parked along the side, and there's all this traffic coming at them, and there's traffic going past them, and this scanner is scanning every one of those license plates and pulling up the warrants that are issued against which ones, and all the rest of it. And so you know that they have that capability, and so I guarantee you that's what they do with mine. Is they see that it probably comes up do not detain or something like that, and
Some of them have a red screen, do not stop, do not detain.
Right.
So the
But
next-
anyways,
The
so
main application of the affidavit of corporate denial is to, like, how do you,
the corporate denial is to establish that there's a man out there, not a corporation.
So
Right
it's
now,
sort of
everything
like-
out there says there's a corporation.
there's nothing that says there's a man.
That's right. So the corporate denial says there's a man out there. Now they might consider that, because the only thing they can see is the corporation. Remember, only a corporation can appear. That's why I don't go into their courts. Okay, but
And which
so
goes to the special appearance comment.
That's
that
right.
They drag you.
That's
in.
right. That's right. And some of these ideas that Boris has, as far as, I mean, he's got some brilliant ideas. And so I mean, that's why he's here. Quite frankly, when it was Vidal that suggested that he come, and I thought it was a great idea because he's got some brilliant stuff. And I don't have all the answers. I certainly don't. I don't even try to deal in their system. And having some ideas on what to do in their system if you get drug in is a smart thing to do, you know. And so we all need to be working together to. It's freedom for everybody, really. And so, however we get it, what does it matter as long as we get it?
Yeah. Nelson, to answer your kind of question, we discussed it on the way back from lunch. You are trying to establish yourself as a sovereign prior to anything else, a history of your intent. Now, you can establish that self-determination at any point. You could be driving down the street, travelling down the street, and a cop pulls you over, and you could decide right at that moment that's your age of self-determination, and that's when you're going to establish your sovereignty. It's a little harder to prove at that point because they have the history.
How do I get through
of
Yahoo? What's the Yahoo group?
But they,
Sorry?
What's the Yahoo group?
you still have
Administrating of public servants?
the ability
Do I have to
to
get
do that at any point.
I understand that, but I'm
Now,
just like, I've just been playing in their world as one of their slaves, saying I'm still a slave, I'm still. I know I am, because I haven't done it. I mean, I know I could, but I'd rather take action before I start spouting.
Administrate your public service.
Well, everything else
your
is to
public
back
service. I
out
can send you a
from
link.
the
Some people
system,
have trouble
stop
finding it.
using,
But,
which is
because
what
Yahoo doesn't, you know, I mean,
Glenn was saying.
they don't
The
make it
officials are everything that you have contracted.
It's called administrating your public
years.
servants with a dash in between each word.
Stop doing that. Get rid of all of that.
Oh,
stuff,
the
and
dash
no
is
longer
there?
be
Yeah.
a
Thanks.
corporate person.
Didn't know that.
And that
This
becomes very hard at that point.
this is a
Because you
notice
have
and
to-
demand.
What is it?
This is a notice and demand.
Yes.
Now, what you do is you record the affidavit of corporate denial,
Got it.
and then you send a notice and demand to anybody and everybody. I sent out literally thousands of these things, maybe even tens of thousands.
Using do-it-yourself free mail.
No, I sent them by registered mail.
This has to be.
Yep, I want proof. I want proof of
Then you
service.
could deny that it
With
was
do-it-yourself free mail, you may or may not get proof of service. Okay, it'll get delivered, but they may not track it in the postal system, and so you may not have anything showing that it was delivered. So if I want proof that it was actually delivered, then and I'll pay the money to get it You see what I'm saying? Anyways, this is a notice and demand. It's sent by registered mail. It's personalized. This one's personalized for the chief of police for Polano. And I tell them it's non-negotiable, meaning there's no negotiation here, this is the deal. And I tell them, I accept your oath of office. I tell them the private man, subordinates and successors. I'm not sure how, it's just something that I put in there. It's hard to say how effective that is because you still really need to, his subordinates you can hold accountable, but his successors, it's hard to say. But anyways, I put that in there. I tell them I accept your oath of office. Equality under the law is paramount and mandatory by law. I did not give you the authority to make a legal determination for me. If they stop you on the road, okay, you have to understand they're making a legal determination for you. They're saying, oh, there's a person I can stop. You see what I'm saying? He just made a legal determination. And so I'm telling them they don't have authority to make a legal determination for me. If anyone who acts on my behalf bears all liability, okay? And if you think or assume you're representing me, you're fired. And that's what they do, is they represent you. They can't make a legal determination without representing you.
Right.
See what I'm saying? And so then I'm competent, and you are not competent in my affairs, and I am competent in my affairs. And then the name is copyrighted, and any communication with me is signed under penalty of perjury, and this is the fees for using my copyrighted property. Anyways, this thing is how many pages?
I don't know.
It's 22 pages.
Ooh.
So it's quite lengthy, okay? But it talks about martial law and all that stuff, about war crimes, and the thing that I want to point out too is it talks about how when a judge is acting as a judge, they're clerks, okay? And then judges who become involved in enforcement of mere statutes, civil or in criminal nature, and otherwise act as mere clerks for the agency. And then it also goes on and says that ministerial officers are incompetent to receive grants of judicial power from the legislature. In other words, they cannot do orders, they cannot do anything like issue a court order or warrant or any of that stuff when he's a bought and paid for clerk masquerading as a judge. Think about it.
So
That's
basically
exactly.
you're saying only common law judges have any
Force of law. Remember,
over
it goes
you.
back.
Over
That's
you.
right. That's
As
right.
a sovereign.
It goes back to the idea that all legislative courts give advisory decisions only that do not have the force of law.
Right.
And so, anyways,
I
now,
have a question.
what's that?
When this corporate denial is filed, is it necessary to file a UCC?
No,
You want-
I do not do that.
Okay.
I don't know if Boris does. You have to talk to him about that. I do not do it. I did it.
All right. We have got a UCC sitting on the front page of the site, the main page. Some attorney firm had sued my buddy, or who used to be my buddy. I don't know what stand we have now, but he had this UCC in the county. One of the paralegals found it and put it into the court case. They ended up contacting the Secretary of State to contact the hospital of birth. Within a few weeks it was gone. Within a year and a half it was absolved with accord and satisfaction. We have no idea what happened. Had no idea it was occurring. He didn't even know about it till one of our other buddies found it by accident. The whole website here on I Am Some Dude is an attempt to explain that. We had no idea what we had at the time. No idea how to replicate it or anything else. Now we find out that since the hospital registered the birth, it transferred an interest to the state. His UCC is designed that the estate is the debtor to the uppercase strong end.
Yep.
So, in other words, the secured party is secured by the estate because the debtor is the one securing the secured party on a UCC form. Like if you were to put one for Christ, Christ would be the debtor. Why? He pays for your sins. The debtor always pays.
Right.
So the debtor pays for the sins, for the debts. The secured party is the one receiving the payment.
Right.
The debtor is the one who's paying. So the way he has this set up is he took the UCC from the hospital, put it on there as a debtor, and where he was living, put it on there as a debtor, and then made the individual the secured party or something like that. I forget how it actually is set up, but you'll see it. And it caused something to just be blown out of the water.
So does that do a secured party creditor when you file that?
No,
Do
you wouldn't have to. I mean, that right
I
there,
don't-
that right there
I
is
don't
what
do
he's
any of that.
doing.
Yeah.
You don't do this?
First of all, you should never mix procedures
Yeah.
unless you know what you're doing.
Correct.
Okay? So if you do his stuff, if you're going to do my stuff, don't do his stuff until you studied it thoroughly. I'm not saying don't do it at all. I'm just saying know what you're doing.
Don't mix them.
Don't mix them, especially like if you go into court and you start mixing them, the judge, what he's going to do is he's going to see that you're mixing procedures.
Right.
He's going to see you don't know what you're talking
Yeah,
about,
here's-
and he's going to railroad you.
Here's where I could see where his stuff and my stuff would mix. His stuff says all this corporate deniability. The judge rolls over it. Going, all right, fine, Your Honor. Then it appears you're holding my securities and I'm here to claim them.
Right. Right.
See, this thing,
Yeah, you got the judge in a box.
what he's doing here, he's saying he's not a corporate entity.
That's right.
And UCC is
It's not a
corporate.
strawman.
UCC is
Is the law.
commerce. It's
Uniform Commercial Code.
UCC is like the blockchain in cryptocurrency. It's a blockchain.
UCC is the law for
Yeah.
corporations.
Yes. It's a blockchain for a secure
So
transaction.
you pretty much use UCC if you're gonna do business with them and run through them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But if you wanna remain sovereign,
that's right.
a
Then
spirit,
you're not a
moving
corporation and you're not operating in a
through, so
corporate
no
capacity.
UCC filing.
Therefore, none of these fines and fees and everything can apply. But if you're going to apply them, then it appears you're holding my security because you just made an assessment against a future performance. Because that's what a security is.
Yeah.
A security is an assessment against a future performance. So you're holding my security. I'm here to claim it to you for immediate settlement of these charges.
Which is why you just say bye-bye. Either way, you're...
Either way.
Either way, he doesn't want to talk to you
You
anymore.
know, he doesn't want to talk. And if he still wants to talk, then Judge, I accept your oath of office and I demand you define what thing you're asking for tender and
Now,
payment.
my other silly question, are you still a secured party creditor if you file this corporate denial?
It's for two different entities.
It's for two different things,
This
okay?
is
The
actually
corporate denial
separating.
is for the man or woman.
So
But
how
if
The
the
secured
judge
party
can ignore
is for the
that,
fictitious
then you come in,
separation. I
then you
don't
come
think
in on
she
the
gets
other one.
that.
Yeah, this creates a separation.
Creating the real
creates a separation.
in the record.
Right
So
now-
this is 101 class for dummies. So how do you cover your damages if there is any? Like, let's say, you know, the state is suing you for being ugly.
Right.
How do you cover that $1 million?
I actually haven't received anything, quite frankly. I can be honest. I filed commercial liens. I never received a penny.
No, I'm saying like if they try to sue you, but how do you pay for the
If they
damage?
try and sue me, what I do is within 3 days, I return their lawsuit with a reject their offer of contract, and I'll take it down to the court personally and make sure it's hand-delivered with witnesses. And within 3 days under their rule truth in lending. And I reject their offer of contract, is what I do. And the thing goes away. I know lots of people that do that, and it works great. But, so if they're trying to sue me for something, it's just a commercial transaction, and you can reject their offer of contract within 3 days and 72 hours under truth in lending.
Here's another thing. I had a talk with a D.C. lawyer who's getting ready to retire. He was out of Cuba. He worked in D.C. And I told him, I go, how can they sue anybody when they're bankrupt? And he goes, well, how do you know they're bankrupt? I go, where's gold, silver, and title so I can complete contract?
They create a certificate trust.
And
What do you say to
No,
that?
no, where's gold, silver, and contract so I can complete title?
Right.
Complete contract. And he went, there you go. That's all they could say is, there you go. They don't have gold and silver, so therefore there's no backing in the currency, so they can't demand anything for payment.
So
They took it all saying they were bankrupt, so therefore if they're saying they give you loans, they're holding gold and silver somewhere and they're predicating loans off of that, which is violation of bankruptcy. In order for them to complete on the mortgage, they have to be able to deliver title, not certificate of title.
That's right, yeah.
Title. And certificate of title means title exists, but somewhere else is.
That's right. Title exists, but they haven't. That's what certificate of title means.
So all you're ever getting is a certificate of title for a mortgage. So if you really wanted to go into a foreclosure hearing and really screw with them, Going, fine, I'll give you the gold and silver if you can give me the title. Let them rebut that one. They can't. There's no title. It's all certificates. Everything is held in suspension.
It's all commercial. It's a
It's
fraud.
all an illusion.
Everything's a fraud. It's an illusion, that's right.
It's an illusion. It's an illusion designed to keep commercial intercourse operating and on the up and up without attaching man to it. So you can actually engage in commercial intercourse and commerce and still remain not of the world. So you can be in the world, do your duties for God, use the commercial resources available and not attach yourself to it and draw yourself into it. Before, when they had gold, silver, and everything else, we were all drawing ourselves into it. So I think all this is done to create that division and that separation so we can be in the world, make the changes necessary to the world to bring about a better present than the one you received before we leave, and then leave it all to the world when you're done. Because you don't need to take it with you. You can't take it with you.
Well, I wouldn't take mine with me.
Oh, you can't do it.
Yeah. You want to be like the Egyptians.
Okay, so,
That's why they found sarcophagus full of gold.
yeah. Okay, back to the notice of demand. This is paragraph 58, and if you look here, it says, Gregory W. Russian, the private man acting as chief of police, subordinates and successors are noticed that you can no longer operate in your private capacity as a revenue officer and claim plausible deniability that you're operating in good faith as required by your Texas codes in numerous places, and you and your subordinates no longer enjoy qualified immunity or limited immunity. And here's a cite: when enforcing mere statutes, judges of all courts do not act judicially and thus are not protected by qualified or limited immunity. And if you proceed against me in any matter not involving a breach of the peace, you will not be operating in good faith as required by your Texas statutes or your federal statutes. And this is federal code, a defense, a good faith reliance on a court order, warrant or order, a jury subpoena, is a complete defense to any civil or criminal action brought under this chapter or any other law. That's Title 18, United States Code, Section 2707. And this is Texas Code of Criminal Procedure. No evidence obtained by any officer or other person in violation of any provision of the constitutional laws of the state of Texas or the constitutional laws of the United States of America shall be admitted into evidence against the accused on the trial of any criminal case. And then it is an exception with the provisions of subsection A of this article, that the evidence was obtained by law enforcement officer acting in abject good faith reliance upon a warrant issued by a neutral magistrate based on probable cause. Well, there's no such thing as a neutral magistrate, and so anyway, so this is talking about the good faith. But in any event, your corporation is responsible, and this is Article 29 of the Geneva Convention relative to the protection of civilians in a time of war of 1949. The party to the conflict in whose hands protected persons may be is responsible for the treatment accorded to them by its agents, irrespective of any individual responsibility that may be incurred. And so I'm telling them that you cannot act in good faith, and your corporation is responsible no matter what. And then it says, you, the private man, acting as Plano chief of police, subordinates and successors, are noticed that you're now put into estoppel. Estoppel is a bar that prevents one from asserting a claim or right that contradicts what one has said or done before, or what has been legally established as true. Estoppel is by silence. Estoppel that arises when a party is under duty to speak but fails to do so. That's Black's Law Dictionary. Principles of estoppel apply against the state as well as the individual. And then this last paragraph, it says Gregory Russian, Plano chief of police, subordinates and successors are first noticed that after saying all of this, I also want you to know that when you are operating in your official capacity as a peace officer, if you ever need me to give aid, I fully comprehend my duty in that respect, and I will be there for you any time, any place, if I am able. And this is under posse comitatus, the power or force of the county, the entire population of a county above the age of 15, which the sheriff may summon to his assistance in certain cases as to aid him in keeping the peace and pursuing and arresting felons. And then I say, I hereby demand that you protect me from all foreign agents, like agents from the FBI, the DEA, the INS, the IRS, the DHS, the IMF, the CIA, and any other agents of foreign governments. And so, that's about it. But so it ends on a positive note, is what my point is.
Right.
What you're doing there is, because I was going to bring it up earlier when a bit earlier in the discussion, they operate under a good faith protectionism.
Right.
Everything they do,
Right.
cops and all these
Right.
agents, they operate under a good faith.
Right.
That they are operating to protect you,
Right.
etc., etc.
Right.
You have just noticed them that you know the game.
That's right.
And that you don't go along with it. So they can no longer claim that good faith defense.
That's right. That's
They're
right.
now
They didn't
operating
vote on
in
It's
bad
notice.
faith.
plausible deniability.
Yeah, it gets rid of it.
It's really powerful. This one's quite lengthy, but I would keep almost everything in there. One thing I wanted to mention is the corporate denial affidavit. Where is it? I know I got it in here. Oh, right here. Right here. This is where it talks about the corporate denial affidavit.
Which is what you've recorded prior.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Exactly.
You include a copy of it, a certified copy of it
No,
with it?
no, that's expensive. That costs a lot of money. I send out hundreds of these things sometimes, and by registered mail, you can spend a buku amount of money just sending these things out. If you start adding in, like that corporate denial affidavit's like 20 or 30 pages, and you start adding that stuff in with the attachments and all that other crap, I mean, it's going to cost you like an arm and a leg. It's going to cost you an arm and a leg anyways when you start sending out a bunch of these. What I usually do with these, with the notice and demand, is I'll budget it. In other words, I'll say, well, I can afford to send out 3 of them, this month. And so I'll pick the 3 most important ones, and I'll send those out. And then the following month, I'll pick another 3 that are the next important. You see what I'm saying? And I'll send those out. And that's essentially how I'll do it, because you can spend an arm and a leg on this. I have spent thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on this stuff for sure.
Could have hired an attorney for that one.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Who works for the court.
Yeah,
That's gonna release his attorneyship and before the end of the year, you said it's gotta be done?
Sorry?
When they have to decide on taking the oath of the Constitution or not, that's before the end of the year?
Oh, January, isn't it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The attorney.
With Trump, you
I think he's
talking about?
talking about the attorneys.
Oh, with Trump, he's talking about that, and that's in January.
By January?
By the end of January,
Okay.
that's when the new Congress convenes
Yeah.
in January.
January 20th.
He's saying, and I hope he's right. I believe he probably is, but we'll see what happens with the election.
Who's saying that? Who's saying that?
Boris was saying
Boris
that.
said,
Oh, is that right? I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
no
that's
doubt about it.
because the midterms are coming up.
Well, the
and they're
midterm,
gonna-
yeah.
They're gonna clean house, because the Democrats have already established the fact that they're incompetent idiots.
Yeah, the
No doubt
Democrats, I
about
like that.
If the election goes well for the right, they most likely will be doing that. They'll have a mandate.
Because they got all
for that.
kinds of retards over there on the Democratic side the Democrat side who
The
just
Republicans-
just showed all their colors here in the last
yeah.
month.
The Republicans got a lot of.
I mean, it's almost to the point that I don't want to say it, but it's almost to the point that it's staged.
Yeah,
And that they did it on purpose.
It is.
Because they're
It's
about
right.
ready to institute a new contract with
Yeah.
the people, and people aren't even going to be ready for it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it appears like.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
it's that bad that it appears like it's
Yeah.
just this is all done to issue in this purpose so they can have because people are going to recontract back into the old ways if they don't know that there's a new contract coming in.
That's right.
And for me, there's only one contract, and that's the declaration where you give up your fortune, which is you surrender your usufruct. And I view things very simply. You don't have a right, you're wrong. And as soon as you're wrong, you're usufruct. That's it. So proof of claim means you better have a right to do whatever you're doing or you're wrong. And as soon as you're wrong, divine law kicks in and now you're fucked. Because that's what usufruct is. Usufruct puts all the liabilities on the one who's trying to profit and gain using property of another. So if they don't have any right to you or your property interest, then they automatically executed a right against those interests. Because that's what usufruct is, the right to receive that property, the right to receive that profit. So you already executed your right to it. You didn't have a right to it, so it's wrong, and now you're really screwed. Because now you have to give me a security, you have to inventory, you have to settle up the claims, you have to pay the taxes, you have to keep things in repair at your own expense. So now, you, by virtue of not having the right, you committed a wrong, and now you work for me. Now you're my now it's like, quote, my slave. I'm the master, you're the slave.
The problem is that most people don't have any clue about that stuff, and so
Yeah.
we'll get the pirates back.
Yeah, right. Have you ever looked at the, what you're talking about and, some of those facts as a function of establishing a body politic based on a commonwealth?
On what, the common law?
No, on a commonwealth.
On a commonwealth. It works anywhere you look at it. Anywhere you go with this. If they don't have a right, it's wrong. As soon as you have a wrong, the person who committed the wrong is the use of